All right, y'all, about to start tying flies. Just grabbing a hook. Hook bent. Huh, that hook's bent. That hook is bent from the factory. It's weird that last hook was bent. Hey y'all, thanks for joining in. I'm about to start tying some flies. Just grabbing a hook right here. And I got a little bit different material that I'm gonna tie some stuff with today. All right, y'all, start tying some flies. All right, y'all, so I got a 2/0 hook on here. It's just a Saber fly hook. It's a 2/0. Of course, it's a saltwater hook. And Saber is not like a super expensive brand, but they're a good, super strong hook though. They're super sharp. All right, y'all, start tying some flies. It's the middle of the afternoon, and my dogs seem to chill out in the middle of the afternoon. I fed them, so they calmed down. So they're all over there sleeping. So I thought I would tie some flies while they're sleeping. So I'm just going to start. I'm going to put a little bit of thread down the shank of the hook right there, right behind the eye. Right there. We're gonna throw a. Hey JD, what's up? What's up, Montana? I guess you saw, man, earlier today. My buddy Johnson asked me if I want to go sit on the riverbank, so we went to the Flint River and fished for catfish for a while. But the river is high and muddy. We caught one blue cat. Is all we caught. It was just something different to do, you know, instead of taking the boat out every day. It was just something different. All right, y'all, I'm gonna grab a gold. I got a gold colored eye right here. I got a 2/0 hook, and I just put a little bit of a thread base right here. And I'm gonna take the gold eye, do a couple of wraps to get it started. Do a couple of wraps in the opposite direction just to get it started on the hook. And once everything is lined up, I'm gonna start wrapping on the hook. Best fish I've ever caught in Story, man. Well, I'm a fishing guy down here in Louisiana. So my biggest redfish my biggest redfish ever was actually, because I'm old now, was back in the 90s, and it was on a bait caster. It was a bait cast rod with 10-pound test. I think it was monofilament, 10-pound test mono, I think, on a gold rattle trap. And I was going down the bank, and all these bull reds were there chasing mullet along the bank. And I slung that gold rattle trap over there. And this is 10-pound test and a giant. He ended up being 40, 47 inches long. I didn't weigh him, but he was a 47-inch redfish on a 10-pound test. I had to start the motor on the boat because he ran straight towards, hey, Shamanda, he ran straight towards deep water. So it was me and my buddy Randy. So we had to start the motor on the boat and chase this fish down so he wouldn't break that 10-pound test. But that was my biggest redfish ever. Like I said, 47 inches. But then, now my biggest one on a fly rod, I also didn't weigh him, but he was 44 inches long. But now I've had clients catch the biggest ones on fly rod that my clients have caught last fall. We had two 28-pounders caught within probably about a week apart. But we're always catching them. If you watch my videos on my channel, if you watch my regular fishing videos on the channel, you'll see 20 plus pounders being caught all the time on my regular fishing videos. We catch those big giant bull reds all the time down here in Louisiana. All right, sorry y'all. So what I'm doing, I just put the eyes on here, and I'm just going to take some glue and put over the thread where we tie these eyes on, because you don't want these eyes to start spinning when you start catching fish. So we're just putting some glue on here, and this glue dries with an ultraviolet light. So we're just going to hit this glue with an ultraviolet light, and it'll dry that glue within like 10 or 12 seconds, something like that. All right, I'm gonna do a little something. I'm gonna use a little bit different ingredient today than I use. I mean, I use it, but I just don't always do it on when we're filming. But basically, got some rabbit. These are basically rabbit fur. That they come in strips. So it's basically strips of rabbit fur, and they paint them. You can get them in all different colors, but this right here is in white. So I'm just going to take and cut just a couple of inches off of this rabbit fur right here in white. I'm going to put that on the hook right here. And on one side of this is flat, I guess where the leather or whatever from the rabbit. So we're going to put this flat end on the hook like this, and this is going to be a tail coming off the hook. So basically, once we put this on there, it's going to make like a tail coming off the hook. So we're going to set this on here. And get some wraps on it. I have to grab my tools and tighten down this arm right here on this thing. It's getting loose from me tying all the time. All right, so we added a white. It's got black stripes, but basically a little white and black rabbit fur right here going down the thing. I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to add a couple of eyeballs right here to it. So I'm going to grab some eyes right here. You know what? Let's make a shrimp pattern. I'm going to grab some of these black eyes right here. They call them crustacean eyes. It might be backwards on camera, but so I'm going to grab a couple of crustacean eyes. We're just going to use black. We'll just make kind of like a shrimp imitation fly. So I'm grabbing two of these. If y'all need it, oops. Just dropped one. I thought somewhere. That's like $20 worth of material. One of these things. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that much, but anybody that fly fishes knows if you put the words fly fishing in front of anything, it makes it more expensive. So I got 2 crustacean eyes right here. I'm gonna go ahead and just put those. I'm gonna basically set them on top of the hook, but I'm gonna split the hook with them right here. That's what I'm doing. I'm just showing y'all. So I'm gonna split the hook with them. And we'll put some black shrimp eyes on here. We'll make it a shrimpy looking pattern. We'll do something kind of shrimpy. I'm just making sure as I start tying them, I'm making sure everything is lined up still. So we got the eyes on here. Yeah, that's good enough. All right, let's go ahead and wrap these up. And we're just going to take and cut these long sections off right here. All right. So far we got a little tail. We add a couple of shrimp eyes to the fly right there. And just for the heck of it, let's add a little bit of color right here to that. Since it's kind of shrimpy, just going to add a little pink color to it. So I'm just going to grab some of this right here, y'all. We'll just grab a few strands off of it. Let's see. There's about 4 strands, I think. Got about 4 strands of it right here. Just going to cut that off. So I've got 4 strands of pink. And what I'm going to do is just take it around my thread one time. So I'm basically just halving this flash on my thread. I'm going to hold it up out of the way like this. There's one loose strand. I'll just pull that out. I'm going to hold it up out of the way like this. I'm going to get a couple of wraps on it to kind of hold it in place. Once I have it in place, I'm going to take this flash, and I'm going to kind of split. So I've got even amounts on each side of the hook right here. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap that on there like that so it stays in place. There. So we just added a little bit of flash right here to the tail. Let's go ahead where we put these crustacean eyes on here a few minutes ago. Let's go ahead. We're going to put a little bit of glue right here to hold those in place, y'all. When you start catching fish, you don't want the materials on your fly to start falling apart. So we're going to put a little bit of glue right there where we tied those eyes on. I'm going to hit that. Did I end up catching? We caught, yeah, Chad, I know you were watching earlier. We caught one blue cat. It was, I don't know, 10 or 12 pound blue cat. The water was dirty. That's all we ended up catching. And we left, I think around lunchtime. All right. So far we got the hook, the eyes. We added some rabbit right here for a tail and a little bit of shine on the tail right here. All right. Since we're gonna do kind of a shrimpy fly right here, let's add a little bit of color right here. I'm grabbing a feather is what I'm doing, y'all. Trying to find my feathers right here. Here we go. I was just grabbing a feather, y'all. We're gonna do kind of a. I'm gonna grab a. I got a brown feather. We'll see how this looks on here. See if that's gonna be kind of. Yeah, that'll add a little bit of shrimpy color to the fly. All right, y'all. So I got a piece of brown saddle hackle. I don't know why they call it saddle hackle, but it's a feather. And we're just going to cut off this thick part right here. We're not going to use that thick part. All right, so we cut the thick part off the feather. I'm just pulling a few of these strands right here off. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over like this right here. We're going to take and set this piece of saddle hackle, this feather, on top of the hook right here and wrap it to get it started. All right, I'm just going to pull this thread up out of the way, and we're going to start wrapping this feather right here around the hook. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to make sure I keep the material pushed back. And I got some tweezers right here. If I find a dead deer on the road, should I cut the tails off for fly fishing? So yeah, I don't do that, but yeah, deer, they call it bucktail, but yeah, deer tail is one of the main ingredients I use on almost all of my flies. So I don't know how they get them, how those companies that sell the material get them. But yeah, bucktail or deer tail is one of the main ingredients that a lot of people, including me, use for fly tying material. And they'll color them different colors. So of course, the natural color, the white, the white is used a lot, but they also color them all kinds of colors to have. All right, while I'm holding this tag in out of the way right here, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple of wraps on it, and then we're gonna cut this tag end off right here, y'all. Like that. Now I'm just gonna get a few wraps to hold everything in place. Like that. So far, we've got the hook. We added some some golden colored eyes, just because I have a ton of this gold, and you can't go wrong with gold. Fish love gold. We added rabbit right here, like some black and white striped rabbit. Added a little bit of pink on the tail, just for a little bit of shine. And I took like a brown and white feather and put right here. So that's what we have so far, y'all. All right. Now I'm gonna grab some crack wrap. I just gotta find it. All right. So I'm gonna grab some crack wrap right here. And that's really no. So they use the fur on a deer, the short fur. They use that for tying flies, and they use the deer tail for tying flies. Um, there's a lot of material when you're tie flying that's natural, and they also make like this right here. They make a lot of fake material also. Like this right here is just it's called crack wrap, but they make both. They have natural material and fake material like this right here. All right, don't want to use this one or my other one. This one's a little thin. Let me grab this other right here, a little bit thicker. No, I'm gonna go with this one. We'll go with this one. So I'm just gonna cut off a few inches right here of the crack wrap. Pig hair. I do not know. I've never seen anything. Any. I don't really know. I guess pigs have hair, but yeah, that's true. I mean, I went wild hog hunting once, y'all, and it was so easy. This was back in Georgia. I'm from Georgia. It was so easy. I threw a ghillie suit on. I grabbed a 22 250, and I eased up to the edge of a soybean field. And I looked down there and I saw the soybeans rocking back and forth. And I got down and I low crawled and I got down in the soybean field and I saw the beans moving back and forth like this right here as the hogs were coming straight towards me. And I was laying in the row of the soybeans, and I had the 2250 looking straight down the road. And here comes a wild hog, but he was feeding. He had his head down, and when he turned to look backwards at another hog, I popped him. And that's my only time I ever went to hog hunting. It was just so. I was like, well, that was easy, and so that's the only time I've ever been hog hunting in my life. All right, y'all. Just gonna tie the tag in on here. I'm gonna get this out of the way. Start wrapping this. And as I'm wrapping from the back of the fly, working my way towards the front of the fly right here, and I'm just keeping the material pushed backwards. See, like sometimes it wants to go forward like that. If it does, it's not a super big deal. When the fly is in the water and you're stripping it, you're working it through the water, all the material is going to flow backwards anyway. And right here around the head, of course, I got kind of material going everywhere, but it don't really matter. Like I say, it's not a big deal at all. Same thing, I'm just getting a couple of wraps to hold this out of the way, and we're going to cut off this tag end right here, like that. Any tips to fly fishing? Well, I do. So I'm a guide down here in Louisiana for saltwater, like redfish. We fly fish for redfish and jack crevalle, all that stuff. But casting, man, go out somewhere in the grass or something, and don't put a fancy fly on there. I mean, you can tie a fly on if you want to, but don't put something on that's going to get tore up that you want to keep. And man, just go out and cast. 10 and 2. 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I mean, your back cast is just as important, if not more important, than your forward cast, because when you go back, you got to let all that line flow backwards. and let it flow backwards before you start. I don't know, man. I mean, it's not really, it's not super hard to do. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there. I mean, you know how YouTube is. If you don't know how to do something, there's probably a YouTube video that tells you how to do it, because everybody has wondered how to do something at some point, and there's probably a YouTube video explaining. But there's a ton of YouTube videos that tell how to start casting and everything, but lots of practice casting, man. That's basically, I mean, it's hard to explain how to do that, you know, but oh shoot, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sitting here talking. All right, y'all, we're about to tie this off. I'm sitting here thinking about one thing. That's hilarious, Chad. That's pretty funny. I don't know, man. I wouldn't go cutting your hair off, dude. All right, so we're gonna tie this off. So we're just tying the fly off right here. And if you've watched my videos before, I'm OCD about it. I always do it like 3 times. So I tie it off more than you actually need, but I'm just OCD about it. We catch a lot of 20+ pound redfish down here. So I'm just OCD about my flies. I want them to last through a ton of redfish. I don't want them to start falling apart at the first fish we catch. No, I didn't throw a weed guard on here. So down here in Louisiana, I fish areas that have some grass in it, but a lot of it is mud bottom or sand bottom, you know, oyster shells. We don't really have a lot of grass down here. I mean, there's some ponds that you can go in sometime that'll have some grass, like if you get more back up in some brackish water. But for the most part, you don't really need a weed guard down here. So, all right, y'all, just a little quick little shrimpy little fly we just kind of came up with on the spot right there. Just a guide fly, you know, not super fancy, but it'll work. You know what I mean? It'll work. Just a guide fly. All right. We'll do something a little fancier since we got some people watching. We'll do a fly that I came up with a couple of weeks ago. I call it I tied it the other night on live stream. So if you're watching the other night, you probably saw it. But I came up with it a couple of weeks ago. I call it the long arm of the crawl. We'll tie that real quick. It's a crab imitation fly. We'll tie that. It's a crab imitation fly, but I call it long arm of the crawl just because it sounds cool. All right. So on this one, I'm gonna grab a 3/0 Uncle hook. It's their, I think they call it their competition series or something. Right here. 3/0 Uncle hook. I'm just gonna start off with that for this fly. Where's all my stuff at? Oh, right here. When I start tying flies, y'all, I know y'all can't see it, but I got stuff laying all over the place right here. All right, let's throw a little bit of thread base up here where we're gonna put the eyes on here. When I say eyes, I mean the little lead eyes. So just put a little thread base right here. I caught about 30 bluegill this morning. Oh, wow. Um, yeah, I mean flies can get torn apart. I mean 30, that's a lot of fish, man. And I'm guessing if it was bluegill, it was a little bitty fly, I'm guessing. On what, like a little 3 weight rod or something pretty small, I'm guessing, a little 3 weight or 4 weight, something really little. Um, yeah, I mean flies can get torn apart. Um, so yeah, especially I guess 30 fish, that's a lot. Why not find bugs and put epoxy on them and keep them from falling apart? Yeah, I mean bugs work, man. That's the all natural bait right there. Um, all right, y'all. Let's grab on this fly. I've been going with a. It don't really matter what color, but I've been going with like a. This I wouldn't say natural. It's not really natural, but just a what would it be, like a titanium color, basically. So it's not natural, obviously, but 12, 12 perch yesterday. There you go. So down here, so I'm from Georgia, but I'm a fishing guide down here in Louisiana. So down here in Louisiana, the locals down here call brim, like brim, bluegill, red belly or whatever. The locals down here call brim perch. I know they're not perch, they're not perch, but the locals down here call brim perch. Um, perch are kind of up north a lot. I'm not saying they're all up north, but like an actual perch is because I've caught perch up on the St. Lawrence River when I was up there fishing for smallmouth, Um, but yeah, that's perch down here in Louisiana. The locals down here call brim perch, but that's kind of funny. All right, y'all. So what you're gonna do? I got the eye kind of started. So what you're gonna do? You're gonna go under the hook and over the eye, and you're doing cross wraps. You're making X's. So I'm going under the hook, over the eye in one direction, under the hook, over the eye in the other. You're doing like this. And there's not really a set amount. Like I don't have a set amount of cross wraps I do. But you don't want the eyes to start spinning all over your hook when you start catching fish. So after I get several wraps, right, yeah, there you go. So after you get several wraps on there, now you're going to go under the eye and over the hook, and it's just going to cinch those X wraps together, just like this right here. So I'm going under the eye, it might be hard to tell, and over the hook. That's all I'm doing, and it's just cinching those X wraps together. Like that. And once we get it cinched together, I'm gonna go ahead and run a thread base down the hook right here. If y'all are new to the channel, please subscribe, y'all. I'm trying to grow my channel. For some reason, I've got 500 and something fishing. Yeah, and you can do that too. So I'm gonna add my glue here in just a second on these. But yeah, people do that also. People will put a thread base, add some glue, then put the eyes. I've done that before, but yeah, we're about to, now that we got the eyes on here, I'm gonna take some Solarex or Solarez or whatever it's called and put that on the eyes right here to lock those in place. But what I started to say, y'all, I've got 500 and something actual fishing videos on my channel. But for some reason, I started tying flies live here lately. And when I do, a lot of people are watching. I really don't know why. But I mean, I figure I tie flies all the time anyway. All right, we're going to grab a UV light right here, y'all, and hit the glue with a UV light just to dry it. But I figure I'm always tying flies anyway. So I went live one time and I had like a couple thousand views or whatever. So I started going live a lot of times when I tie flies, and for whatever reason, people are watching it. And I thank y'all for watching it. But if you go check out my channel, I've got a bunch of like fishing videos on there. So, all right, y'all, we got that on there. We're gonna grab. We were talking about this earlier. We're gonna grab a deer tail, some deer tail, and put a little bit of a deer tail on there. No, ma'am. Rosie, do you need to go out? Y'all, my dog was about to have an accident. Hold on, I'm gonna let her out real quick. Come here, Rosie. Rosie, out. No, just Rosie. Just Rosie, just Rosie. Go. Sorry, y'all. I saw my dog start sniffing around, and she don't use the bathroom in the house like regularly or anything like that. But like a past day or two, she's had an upset stomach, so she's had an accident or two. So I saw her sniffing just then, so I was letting her out. All right, y'all. We're gonna grab a deer tail. Look, I got material. So we're gonna grab a deer tail. It's olive colored deer tail. And we're just gonna grab a chunk of it off here, y'all. And it don't have to be a giant chunk. This is more of like, it's gonna add a little bit of action to the fly, but it's more of a filler. This is a fly that I came up with a couple of weeks ago, and it works. Let's see, is it worth tying your own flies? I think so, man. I've got hundreds of flies, and I've tied a lot of flies. But when you're buying, so I'm a fishing guy in Louisiana for redfish and stuff. So when you're buying flies for like, I mean, some of them are cheaper, but when you're buying flies for like $7, $8, $10 a piece or whatever, and being a guide, I have a lot of flies. So, so yeah. It saves me money, but the other thing is, it's enjoyable, man. And I'm gonna tell you, and everybody says this, if you ever start tying flies, it gets addicting. So be prepared. If you start tying flies, I kind of screwed that one up because I'm sitting there talking. If you ever start tying flies, be prepared to do it a lot. And probably the most important thing is I would get a decent vise. This vise is not one of those $400 vices or anything, but this vise was only a little over $100, but it does everything that those $400 and $500 vices do. Because when I started, I didn't have a super expensive vise or super nice vise, but you want a good vise. You want a good vise. So. Oh, I broke my thread. That happens sometimes, y'all. It's not a big deal. It's actually a good learning point because I'll show y'all. If you break your thread like that, it's not a big deal at all. I'll show you what we do. This right here is just used to thread your bobbin right here. I'm just going to push this down through the bobbin like that. Yeah. So the other day, last week or whatever it was, I went by my local fly shop here where I buy a lot of materials and stuff from. And the guy there was like, man, he's like, I don't know what it is lately. He's like, I've been having to order materials left and right. He said everybody's just sitting at home tying flies right now. One thing is, I can tell you, so it's springtime, pretty much down here in Louisiana. It's hot every day. But the thing about springtime down here, the fishing's great, but you get a lot of high winds. So half the time you can't really go fly fishing because the winds are so high. So everybody, I guess, like me, when they're not fishing, they're all sitting at home tying flies. So if you break your thread like that, y'all, not a big deal. I'm just going to restart my thread and go over where I broke that thread, not a big deal at all. And when you go back over it, it's just gonna tie. It's just gonna tie the other thread into your new. You know, in other words, you're gonna wrap over that old thread, so it's not a big deal at all, y'all. So there we go. All right, I'm gonna push this out of the way, and we're gonna make some crab claws. I'll show y'all how to make some crab claws real quick. Let me find my crab claws right here. We're gonna make some crab claws, y'all. All right, I got it. Sorry, y'all. I wasn't really planning on tying this fly, so oh, that's true, Black Wolf. Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, so my first one didn't spin either. So I would have to unclamp the fly, flip it over, clamp it back. This one spins. But yeah, I was the same way. I didn't have one that clamped to begin with. Y'all, let me see if my dog's ready to come in, and we're going to make some crab claws. Give me 30, 40 seconds. Come here, Rosie. Rosie. Rosie Mae. Rosie. All right, y'all, I'm back. Sorry. I am back, y'all. Sorry. Rosie had ran into the neighbor's yard, which she does all the time. Fences do not stop that dog. All right, y'all, we're gonna make some crab claws. So I've got some chenille right here. Some chenille. We're just gonna take and cut off, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches of it. And we're making crab claws. So what we're gonna do, I say that because hold on, Mr. Grady. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. What area of the marsh do I fish? So I base out of the Myrtle Grove area. So Myrtle Grove, Port Sulphur. Sorry, Mr. Grady. I just saw that. And that's what I do. I chase bull reds all year long. If you check out my YouTube channel, you're going to see a ton of videos of bull reds. My website is grippinglipsfishing.com. If you go on my website, it has my calendar on there, and I keep it updated with my availability. So if it's not blocked, I'm available. But you can go on my website and get in touch with me there to book trips. But it's grippinglipsfishing.com, GRIPPING. And I'm gonna tell you, fall, like starting September, really late August, but September, October, November, December, that stuff. In fact, November and October are both those months are probably more than half full already. But the fishing stays great all winter long. But all through December, all that, the fishing's great. But if you're wanting to book, I would do it sooner than later, before everything gets booked up, man. Because people book a year out down here. People book a year out down here, y'all, because they know the fishing's so good in the fall and the winter. All right, we're gonna make some crab claws. So I've got some chenille. We're gonna double it over. like this right here. I used this fly the other day. I went by myself the other day, y'all. As soon as I got out there, I got back in this little, like these little dead end canal kind of areas. As soon as I got back in there and I got up on my platform, here comes two redfish coming by the boat. I mean, literally, as soon as I started fishing, and I slung this fly in front of them, and one of them smoked it. So what you do, we double the chenille over, and we're just going to tie an overhand knot and pull that tight, like this right here. We're making crab claws. So we pull that tight. And then you got your two little tag ends right here. We're going to cut one a little shorter than the other. So we got a little shorter one and a little bit longer one right there. Now we're going to take where we doubled this over, and we're going to cut off one of those just below your knot. So, and that's starting to look like a crab claw, but we're going to make it look like a crab claw a little bit more. So now we're going to grab something that has a flame. So I've got this right here. And we're gonna hit the flame, and you're just gonna touch these two little points to the flame, and it's gonna add. See how they're flat right now? It's gonna add a point to those. So it added a point. Now, is the redfish gonna see that little point? Probably not. I mean, when this redfish goes in front of them, they're probably just gonna. When this fly goes in front of a redfish, they're just gonna smoke it instinctually anyway. But, at least you know it's there. So, all right, we need two crab claws. So we're gonna do the same thing. Cutting off another piece of chenille, and we're gonna tie again. We're gonna double it over. Just tie an overhand knot. Like that. We got an overhand knot. We're going to pull it tight. Like this right here, y'all. Yeah, y'all, I've got people that book a year in advance, and I got some guys that come the same dates every year. Like the same dates every year. They'll book a year in advance. They come down the same time every year. Just because we normally do pretty good. All right, so we cut one of the claws longer than the other. And we're going to go ahead and cut that off. So that's the start of our crab claw. And I dropped it on the floor. So that's the start of our crab claw right there. We're going to hit the flame and just put little points on our crab claw like that. Now what I do, I take a red Sharpie, and I'm going to color the little crab claws right here red with a red Sharpie. I call this fly the long arm of the crawl. If you hadn't watched my channel before, or haven't watched me tie flies, you'll see why in a second. The reason I call it long arm of the crawl. Okay. So we just colored our little claws red on both of them. Now I take a blue Sharpie, and just below the claws are the little knot you tied, like the little hand, I guess, of the crab. We're going to paint that blue, or color that blue with the blue Sharpie. And it stays on, the Sharpie stays on in the water. If it gets a little faded, it really don't matter. Like I said, when this fly comes by the fish, they're they're going to smoke it instinctually anyway. So there's our little crab claws, everybody, that we just made. Now we're going to add the crab claws to our fly right here. So the reason I call it the long arm of the crawl, even though it's a crab, I call it long arm of the crawl, just for the heck of it. When I tie them on the fly, I leave one longer than the other. It's does it matter? I mean, no, I just do that to be funny, honestly. So I just do that so I can call it the long arm of the crawl. So we're gonna put that on. We're gonna leave one of the crab claws longer than the other, and we're gonna wrap it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut these tag ends off right here, and we'll finish wrapping it up. All right. Okay, so we got our little crab claws added right here. Now we're going to add some eyes to the crab. You find where they are. Sorry, y'all. That pollen, springtime, that pollen hits me and my voice gets jacked up in the springtime. So let's add some eyes to our crab. They're called easy shrimp eyes, is what they're called. It really don't matter what color. It probably don't even matter a whole lot if you had these on there or not, honestly. But I put them on there just to make it look cool. This is what they look like, the easy shrimp eyes. So what we're going to do, we're going to split these eyes. We're going to put one on each side of the hook right here. So I'm just going to take them, set them on top of the hook, like that. And get some wraps on it. Just like that. And now that we have that on there, we're going to take some Solarez glue right here and put glue over that thread where we put those eyes, just to lock those eyes, and it's also going to lock those crab legs in place too. All right. This glue we just used, it dries with a UV light, so we're going to hit it with a UV light right here. It's going to dry that glue within like several seconds. It'll be dry. All right, rutabaga, go somewhere. All my dogs are wanting to come up to me now, y'all, but I'm over here trying to tie flies. All right, so now we've got, so far, obviously we started with a 3/0 Uncle hook. We added the lead eyes up here. I just used like the regular, whatever, titanium color or whatever it is. We threw some deer tail on here. You get a little bit of action out of that, but it's more like a little filler and a little color right there. We made some crawfish. We made some crab legs, same thing, and threw some crab legs on here, and we added some eyes on here. All right, now I'm gonna grab some EP brush. I'm gonna grab some EP brush right here. I've already got some right here actually. And this stuff you don't need a lot. So on this, there's a there's a wire going down through the middle of this material. I think it's like a little stainless steel wire or whatever. That's actually too much. We don't need this long of material right here. This stuff is very thick. This is very thick material. And there's a reason that I use that on here. So the colors on it are good. It's like an olive color. It's got a little bit of blue, a little bit of orange or copper color or whatever. So the colors are great. But like I said, this material is thick. So when you use it on your fly, it adds some body to your fly. It makes your body, the fly, kind of thick. And when you're stripping this fly through the water, this fly is going to move water. In other words, since it's going to be a thicker fly, it's hard to, but when it's coming through the water, it's going to move water. So it's going to help fish find the fly. They have sensors on them where they can feel movement underwater. So that way they can feed when the water's dirty, stuff like that. So adding this EP brush is going to add a thicker body to it and help the fish find the fly. All right, y'all. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to get this stuff started. There's like a little tag end of this wire right here. I'm going to wrap this tag in on here to get it started. I'm always cutting wire and everything else with these scissors, y'all. I've got 2 pair. I'll probably have to buy some more at some point because I'm always cutting stuff you shouldn't really be cutting. But all right, we're gonna pull this right here, this bobbin out of the way. I'm just gonna kind of lay it over the top of the fly, and we're gonna start wrapping this EP brush. Like I said, there's a wire that runs through the middle of this. So while you wrap it, we're gonna double this material back over this wire like this and wrap it that way. And we're going to wrap it starting at the back of the fly. In other words, back here towards this end. We're going to start at this end of the fly. We're going to double this material over. We're going to double this material over, and we're going to wrap it towards the front of the fly. Y'all, this might be the last fly I get to tie right now because the dogs are getting where they want to get worked up. And I was hoping they were going to keep taking a nap. And I just don't want them to be disturbing us. But I'll probably tie flies again later tonight. If you watch my channel, y'all know sometimes I'm tying flies at like 10 o'clock at night or whatever, because that's, for some reason, that's when I start tying flies, is late at night. All right, so we're going to keep wrapping this material while keeping it pushed backwards towards the back of the fly. And we're almost done. Yeah, I think that's enough right there. So we're going to hold this tag end of the material out of the way. I'm going to get a couple of wraps on it just to make it stay. And then cut this tag end off of the EP brush. And while we kind of hold this back, we're going to go ahead and wrap this EP brush to get to stay. Just like that. I'm going to grab a toothbrush. And just for the heck of it, we're just going to brush this stuff backwards. Like that. I'm going to cut off a few of these little strands that are sticking out right here. Does it matter? I mean, not to the fish. The fish aren't going to care at all, but you know, some fly fishing guys want their flies to look like super perfect. Although it's not going to matter to the fish at all. when the fish sees this fly come by, they're just going to eat it. they're not going to be like, they're not going to be like, oh, you know, does that look perfect? They're just gonna smoke it. All right, now as soon as I can find it, unless I pulled it out already. Here it is. Y'all, what it is, I got a plastic bin over here with drawers in it full of fly tying materials. And sometimes, you know, it gets all out of whack. So we're going to grab some more wrap right here. I think this is like holographic wrap or whatever it's called. The strands on this are a little bit longer than crack wrap. I can't remember the exact size on this. It might be an inch. This might be an inch. They make these strands in different lengths, you know. So down here in Louisiana, by the way, we have blue crabs down here, which are kind of like a greenish, orangish color, and of course they got some blue in them. And so this fly we're tying is supposed to be like a blue crab. So I'm just gonna grab a few inches of this right here. So I got a few inches of this blue. I'm gonna lay this right here, get some wraps on it to get it started. I'm gonna pull this out of the way, and now we're gonna wrap this blue around right here, around the front of the fly, while keeping the material pushed back towards that way, towards the back of the fly. We're going to keep these strands kind of pushed back towards the back. And this is going to add that little bit of like a little bit of blue to the fly to give it that blue crab looking color to it. And it also adds a little bit of shine. We're going to trim some of this back. You're not going to have all this much blue on there after we trim it, y'all. That's probably enough right there. I probably pulled, yeah, that's enough. I pulled a little bit too much material off just then. So we're going to hold this tag in out of the way, do the same thing we did with the other. You should get a thread wrap over it, cut this tag end off, and then wrap this up. Wrap it up, B. Y'all remember Chappelle's show? There was a skit with like a button or something, a box. I don't remember what they called it. The wrap it up box or something. All right, let's get a few more wraps on this. Hold everything in place. I'm just cutting off a few of these little excess materials right here, y'all. All right, let's get a few wraps right here around the eye, and we're going to tie it off. Just use a little tool right here. Basically, you take the little hook of this tool, wrap around the thread like this. Come around this little part with your thread and hold your thread right up here. And wrap it 4 or 5 times. Do just like that. There we go. Now we're going to add, once again, some Solarez glue right here over that knot that we just tied, over that thread to keep everything from falling apart when you start catching 20-pound redfish. All right, we're gonna hit that with a light. It's gonna dry that glue. It dries it within like 10 or 12 seconds, something like that. And we are about done with this fly right here, y'all. All right. Like I said, we're going to trim some of this blue off. As you can see, it sticks out really far compared to the rest of the fly. So I just take scissors, and I just eyeball it. I just kind of go around. And just trim that up. It looks pretty good right there, y'all. Ooh, I got one little strand right here. Let me cut that off. Not that it matters at all. All right, y'all. So we just made the long arm of the crawl. A little blue crab imitation. One arm's longer than the other. That's the reason I call it the long arm of the crawl. So we got a 3/0 Uncle hook right here, just like the regular, like titanium eyes. The eyes are the large size, I guess is what they are. I want this fly to drop down in front of the fish as fast as possible. We got deer tail, some olive colored deer tail right here. We added some red little crustacean eyes right there. We got some EP brush, like an olive kind of color EP brush. And then we added a little bit of blue wrap right here to it, y'all, to give it that blue color, a little bit of shine. So it's basically like a blue crab imitation, everybody. And like I said, all this, once it hits the water, it's all going to flow backwards anyway. But you know, if you want to make it look all nice and pretty just for the heck of it, you can take a toothbrush or something. But it's not going to matter at all once it hits the water. So there we go, y'all. We tied 2 flies. I would keep tying some more, but my dogs are getting kind of active, and I just don't want them bothering us, y'all. We tied this one when we first started. I just kind of threw something together. It's kind of like a little guide fly. A little 2/0 saber hook on there. Some rabbit, what you call it? What do they call this? I can't even think what it's called. Zonkers. So just some black and white rabbit zonkers right here. We added a little bit of pink flash to it. I threw a couple of little black crustacean eyes on there. Like a brown and white feather. And we added a little bit of crack wrap right here around the front. Just a quick, easy little, like a little shrimp imitation, you know. All right, y'all, we tied these 2. Thank y'all for watching. I'll probably tie again later tonight, but I normally tie late at night anyway. But yeah, the dogs are getting active, y'all, so I'm gonna. But y'all check out my channel. I've got 500 something fishing videos on there, and you can see all these flies actually get put to use, and you'll see us catch a bunch of big old fish. So thank y'all for watching. Please subscribe, and I'm out of here. Thank y'all.